What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman, and welcome in to our weekly live show where we break down the latest on your Minnesota Vikings. We got a lot to talk about today. The Vikes just got some great news from the NFL as they were rewarded potentially 2 comp picks for next season. And we also got to talk about some disrespect the Vikings have been getting as of late. And we also got a mailbag to close out today's show. But before we start, if you guys love the Minnesota Vikings, hit me with a skull in the live chat. Shout out to Craig in the building. Kevin's in there. Tristan is in the house. Riker Hoffman, John Corey, Donzel Davis, Lisa Smith saying skull from Boise, Idaho. Corey Miller in the building as well. And then Big Daddy BBQ, what a name that is, saying let's go. Same with Stephen Wynn, Chris, Craig, Remember Montana saying skull Vikes. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in today. We got a lot to talk about. As we are entering the dog days of the NFL offseason, and as this time rolls around every single year, I think people just love to, hate on the Vikings a little bit, and we'll be breaking down here on the show. Big O B saying, "What's up, Pat?" Big O, I see your Minnesota Wild profile pic there. I am sorry for all the diehard Wild fans. That was a tough loss yesterday. You have the game-winning goal, you get it called back because of an offside, and then you lose in overtime to the Vegas Knights. So hopefully they'll bounce back in Game 6, tie it up, and then we got Game 7. Then hopefully the Minnesota Wild will be able to pull off a win. But shout out to Len Benda, Bradley saying skull from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Shout out to you, Bradley. Thanks for tuning in. Big O saying, I got so pissed. Dude, I couldn't imagine. I wasn't watching that game. I'm not a Wild guy. But, man, I would have been furious if that happened to my hockey team. But, hopefully they'll bounce back for Game 6, get a win. But more importantly, everybody, Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves taking on the Lakers tonight. Hopefully they can close that game out in Los Angeles. It's going to be a big-time matchup. And I'm not nervous that they're going to come back from 3-1, but I will be a little nervous. Lakers win tonight. Luka's going to be coming into Game 6 snarling like a big old grizzly bear. So we'll see, even though I do think Anthony Edwards and crew gets it done tonight. But speaking about Anthony Edwards, let me ask you guys this. I think Minnesota has 2 of the most electric stars in all of sports right now. Justin Jefferson on the NFL side of things and Anthony Edwards on the NBA side of things. But you guys let me know, who is better? Like, if you had to pick one, like to stay in Minnesota, who are you picking? This is a messed up question. I hate even asking this because this is tough right here. But give me a JJ for Justin Jefferson or give me an AE for Anthony Edwards as me covering the Minnesota Vikings. I type my JJs here. Best receiver in the league. One of the best non-quarterbacks in the National Football League. But that's a tough question, man. Anthony Edwards is putting the city on the map. So we'll see. As a lot of JJs are rolling in the comments section. Shout out to all of you guys. Shout out to Neil, Joe, Mason, Sano. Type in JJ. Shout out to you, Brody. Ryan Manley in the house. Don't forget about Kaprizov. He's up there as some of the young stars in Minnesota. And also the Twins bouncing back after probably the worst 2-week start to the season. They are playing some good baseball as of late. Andre will say Anthony Edwards deserves a little more respect than he's getting right now. But since I think Ant's a top 4 player in the NBA. But, we'll wait and see what happens tonight. But back to the Minnesota Vikings here. How are you guys feeling? After a couple of days have passed, you guys been looking at the draft class a little more, maybe diving into some Ty Felton tape, some Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins tape, some Kobe King stuff. How are you guys feeling about the 2025 draft class for your Minnesota Vikings? Grade it for me down below. I gave it a B. Nothing too crazy from this draft class, but I also do think Kwesi did the most he could with a very limited amount of draft capital. So you guys let me know. How are you feeling about it? Grade it for me down below. I go B. Nothing special here, but, if Donovan Jackson hits, if Ty Felton hits, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins hits, like, you could be looking at this class as, a sneaky good one for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, most teams can say that about all of their draft picks, but, we'll wait and see what happens. As Big O Beast giving it a B+, Remember Montana giving it a B, Matthew Kari giving it a B, Dwayne going B+, Stephon Wynn going B, Travis saying B-, maybe C+, Resi2K going C. Yeah, I gave it a B here. Listen, I like the Vikes going offensive line in round 1. I know a lot of us wanted Malachi Starks, Nicky Minwari, one of those, do-it-all safeties that would, definitely have a field day with Brian Flores and this defense. But I like them shoring up that left guard spot. You don't have a weak point excuse me, on your entire offense. So I like that pick. And plus, if Donovan Jackson hits, he's got that tackle versatility, filled in for Josh Simmons very well last year when he went down for Ohio State. Is Luke Johnson saying B wanted Jahdae Barron badly? I did too. I think he was pick number 20 to Denver. I thought there was a chance he was going to be on the board at pick 24. And I would be very curious if it was like Jahdae Barron, Donovan Jackson, Malachi Starks, Nicky Minori all on the board. Like, where would the Vikings have gone? Obviously, they chose Jackson over Starks and Minori, but just between Barron and Jackson, I'm curious if that would have changed things for the Vikings, but I don't think it would have. I think Jackson still would have been the pick, considering how quickly the Vikings got that selection in there. But we'll have to wait and see. As Frank also says, Kwesi cooks with the UDFAs. Yes, never rule out the Vikings getting the 5 best UDFAs every single year. I mean, Tyler Batty. There's just a number of guys the Vikings picked up. So the UDFA class is sick. The draft class is all right. Gave it a B. But, speaking about this next season, let me ask you guys this. Who is the biggest X factor on the Minnesota Vikings? What say you on this one? Can't say J.J. McCarthy. How about that? Because I think J.J. obviously is the biggest X factor. But besides him, I didn't have an answer prepared for. My initial reaction was a guy like Donovan Jackson. Trying to think defensively if there's any guys who are a big X factor. I'll throw it a while. Actually, I'll say Byron Murphy Jr. Because, he had a very good year last year, but the previous year he was very bad. And, if he kind of either maintains or he takes a step up, that'll be great news for the Vikings. But if he takes a step back, that would be catastrophic for the secondary. I'll go Byron Murphy. You could also say a guy like Isaiah Rodgers, Mekhi Blackmon, Theo Jackson. I think those are all good answers. As Matthew Carey saying Ty Felton, Daniel Parker going Dallas Turner, Williams going Dallas Turner, Travis Strand going Blackmon. That's also a great answer because if Blackmon pops, and let's just say he's a really, really good cornerback too, that'd be huge for this team. As then Resi2K saying Theo Jackson, Greg saying how will the new defensive line help our secondary? I mean, you will have a chance to get home with 4 pretty consistently or get home with 5. We'll talk about a little NASCAR third down package for the Vikings here on one of our shows. So we'll see. As Dwayne saying Donovan Jackson, the offensive line is 100% better. At 100% is, Dwayne. You're going to have protection up front for J.J. McCarthy. You're going to hopefully have a good run game. As Evan going Jordan Mason, that's a good answer to this question. Let's just say Mason plays like a top 10 running back this year, which I do think he has the potential to do so. He had the highest amount of rushing yards over expected against stacked boxes this past year, which is a great stat. That's how, if you guys were watching the show 2 years ago, or honestly about 3 years ago now. Jeez, I'm getting old. But when we were talking about Dalvin Cook, and I was saying the Vikings need to move off him, a lot of people were going back at me, and I was just saying, no, if you go look at these like deep analytics on truly how impactful he is running the football, his yards have fallen off a cliff in terms of their expected yards. He was actually in the negative his last year with the Vikings. So I love that stat. So hopefully Mason improves the goal line rushing offense, which I'm assuming he will. Big, physical, bruising running back. So we'll wait and see what happens. But speaking about next season, if you guys want the Minnesota Vikings to win the NFC North, how sweet would it be year one with J.J. McCarthy if the Vikings won the North? Also, a little fun fact here, J.J. McCarthy undefeated as a starting quarterback in the state of Michigan. So hopefully he goes up to Detroit and gets a dub this year. But if you guys want the Vikes to win the NFC North, hit that thumbs up icon. We're at 22 likes right now. If we could get the 30 likes, that would be awesome. We can dive into our segments on today's show. So hit that thumbs up icon if you guys have not already. And coming up on today's show, Vikings got some great news from the NFL in terms of their comp picks for next season. All that waiting, that patient play by Kwesi ended up paying off. Vikes will get 2 comp picks next year as it stands right now. We also got a little Vikings hype segment. As I will say this, there was a sports media company that predicted the Vikings will go 6-11 next year. Cowherd predicted the Vikes will finish 4th. It's that time of the year, man. It is, April heading to May where people just sleep on the Minnesota Vikings. And I guarantee you, anytime you guys hear somebody talk about the Vikes this year, they're not going to talk about the roster. They're not going to talk about the coaching staff. They're going to talk about J.J. McCarthy. Oh, how could the Vikings be successful next year with a first-year starting quarterback? I don't know. Maybe go look at the last 2 years in the NFL. C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels teams can be very successful with a rookie quarterback when you put the right pieces around him, and the Vikings have done just that. But people think the Vikings are going to finish 6-11, lower than their win total from their preseason win total from last year of 6.5 wins. as Big OB saying, people always underestimate Minnesota sports. That's actually a good point. I thought that was only a Minnesota Vikings thing since I'm only a Vikings fan when it comes to Minnesota sports. I grew up in Chicago, so I'm Chicago everything else, but I'm a diehard Minnesota Vikings fan since I was born. And that's something I've always noticed was like, oh, the Vikings are always getting disrespected every single offseason. The Bears always get a ton of love, like the Packers, the Lions are getting a lot of love, especially over the last couple of years. But now I've seen it with the Timberwolves. Like Anthony Edwards gets disrespected, like the whole Timberwolves team. Like that's why I was so furious when people were predicting the Timberwolves-Lakers series, and they were just like saying, "Oh, Luka will get him 2 games, LeBron will get him 2 games." Just like that, Lakers are at 4 wins, and the series is over. Instead of looking at the whole roster, top to bottom, and Minnesota sports just get disrespected. I think and you think about it from their side of things, like Fox Sports, would they rather have the Vikings or the Bears in the playoffs? They would rather have the Bears. Would, ESPN, TNT, would they rather have the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round or the Minnesota Timberwolves? They would rather have the Lakers. So when they're making these predictions and they're talking about these series, they have just a little bit of bias in their head where they're like, oh yeah, the Lakers will for sure, win that series. But, it's all speculation. I don't really buy into it too much, but we will have a mailbag on today's show. So if you guys can get those questions in there, #Vikings, we'll dive into that in about 30 minutes or so. It's just in the live chat. If you just say, hey, what do you think the Vikings should do next? Just include #Vikings. It pulls to our software. You get your name, profile, pick, question up on screen next to me. Love doing these mailbags every single week. And if you guys are ready to go, hit that thumbs up icon. We already crossed over 30 likes, but if we could get I'll put the goal of 40 likes. If we could get 9 more people to hit that thumbs up button, that would be awesome, as we got 115 people in the building. So if you guys could go down there, like today's live stream, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Help us get this stream out to more and more Vikings fans. And once we get to 40 likes, we'll dive into the great news the Vikings just got from the NFL. And I will say, just seeing pictures from practice, seeing JJ throw the ball, guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it until September. I am already fiending for Vikings football to be back in my life, and I feel like a kid watching all these clips, watching the Vikings. I feel like I'm back in 8th grade following the football team, really in-depthly for the first time, and I just can't wait, man. I just can't wait. So if you guys are ready to roll, hit that thumbs up icon, and we are at 46 likes. I appreciate all of you guys. So if you guys haven't already, hit that thumbs up button, and let's dive into the great news the Minnesota Vikings just got from the NFL. What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, the Vikings just got some great news from the NFL. We'll share with you guys that information at the start of today's show. And then Kevin O'Connell, he hopped on the Up and Adams show, broke it down with Kay Adams, talked a little J.J. McCarthy, talked a little Donovan Jackson. So we'll share with you guys a couple of quotes. And then our guy, the Ginkster, Andrew Van Ginkel, just signed an extension with the Minnesota Vikings. So what does that mean for Dallas Turner? People are freaking out about it. We'll dive into that all on today's show. But before we do so, if you guys could help us break our likes record on today's show. So the most likes we have ever gotten on an individual video was 997. So the goal for today is going to be 1,000 likes. If you guys have not already, go down there, smash that thumbs up icon. And if you see we're at maybe 780 likes, 900 likes, we're right at that goal. Please help us out here and hit that thumbs up button. All right, so what's the great news the Vikings are getting from the NFL? Well, the Vikings are expected to get a 3rd and 5th round comp pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Now, we know Kwesi has been very aware of this. He's talked about it very openly that he didn't want the Vikings to sign any more free agents just to ensure themselves of at least getting 2 comp picks. Now, it was being reported the Vikings could get 3, but after the latest projections, they're only supposed to get 2 here. So this is how the Vikings 2026 draft capital should look. This, obviously could change with some conditions on especially some 6th and 7th rounders, but as it stands right now, they have their 1st round pick, they have their 2nd round pick, they will have 2 thirds, 2 fifths, a 6th, and a 7th. So the Vikings have draft capital for next season. It's going to feel a whole lot better covering the NFL draft instead of just discussing 4 picks there. But when I'm looking at the whole Vikings 2026 draft capital, the thing that pops into my head is this year's upcoming trade deadline. Because let's just say the Vikings come out the gates hot, very similar to last year. Let's just say they're 5-2 around that mark when the trade deadline rolls around. I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings get aggressive at this year's trade deadline where, as we know, like some teams who we think are going to be good will be bad. Some teams who we think are going to be bad will be good. It's just the nature of the NFL. And with that action, it will cause a reaction of teams at the deadline potentially being sellers, where there could be a defensive lineman. There could be a cornerback out there on the market that we, aren't even considering his name right now. But there are a couple of guys that we know are on the trade block. And the number one guy, Jalen Ramsey. I think this would be a before the season trade, as I fully expect him to be dealt by the Dolphins before the season gets underway. They have made it super, super clear that they're going to try to move off him. So maybe the Vikings give up a 2026, fifth round pick. Maybe they just give up one of their thirds, knowing they're going to get a third round comp pick selection for losing some guys on free agency. But if it's Jalen Ramsey before the season, you want to shore up that secondary, I'd be all in. Give up a third round pick. I know he's an older corner, but he can still play some damn good football on him next to Byron Murphy, helping out Mekhi Blackman, Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah, Dwight McGlothern. And I think that'll be a damn good six-man cornerback rotation. So watch out for Jalen Ramsey. But what about this guy right here? Adam Thielen returning to the Vikes. So the Carolina Panthers at pick number 8 this past draft took Tet McMillan, wide receiver, and they already pair him up with Xavier Legette, and maybe they don't really have a need for Thielen, so maybe the Vikings could potentially toss like a 6th, 7th round pick to bring Thielen back home. Now, do I think the Vikings have a need at the wide receiver position? Absolutely not. I mean, you just spent a 3rd round pick on Ty Felton. I think a Thielen trade is damn near dead, but maybe the Vikes are saying, you know what, if Naylor, Rondell Moore, Ty Felton, maybe they see these guys in training camp, but they're not loving what they see at the wide receiver 3 spot, and they just want to add another body in there. Maybe Thielen's a guy that you could just trade, late 6th or 7th round pick for him. But I'll ask you guys this. I know the receiver position is stacked, but maybe for the vibes, maybe just get a little more depth at that spot. Would you trade for Adam Thielen? You guys let me know down below. Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. If you would bring back Adam Thielen and have him rock the purple and gold one more time. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. All right, we're going to dive into what Kevin O'Connell had to say on the Kay Adams show earlier today. He was talking Donovan Jackson. He was talking J.J. McCarthy, and he had some pretty interesting stuff to say. But first off here, on the first-round pick for the Minnesota Vikings, Donovan Jackson, he says this: we really felt good about honing in on certain types of players that fit with what we want. Smart, tough guys that will be great teammates. Donovan, to me, jumped out through the process. And, I think Donovan Jackson was the missing piece of this offense. If you were looking at, what position group specifically offensively was the weakest spot, it was left guard by a wide margin because there really wasn't any other weak positions on the offense. You got the tight ends, you got the wide receivers, you got the running backs, you got your franchise QB and J.J. McCarthy. And if you're just looking where could the Vikings be better, it would be that left guard spot. That's why he was the missing piece here. I mean, you plug him in, I think he'll be the day 1, week 1 starter for the Minnesota Vikings. Apparently, actually, Brian O'Neill said that he and his wife already took out Donovan Jackson and his girlfriend to dinner. So he's already kind of getting connected with the Vikings offensive line. And plus, if you're a first-round pick and you're a guy like Donovan Jackson and your first offensive line, you get to play next to Ryan Kelly, Christian Darrisaw. I mean, what better teammates to have played next to you? And it's funny, as I'm looking at the Vikings offense right now, what's the weakest position? It's probably center. Like, it's probably Ryan Kelly, older in age, dealt with some injuries the past couple of years, but still pretty solid. But that's probably the weakest position of group offensively for the Minnesota Vikings, just that center spot. And, I got full faith in Ryan Kelly getting it done for next season. But Kevin O'Connell was asked about J.J. McCarthy, and Kay Adams kind of joked about it. It was like, hey, Kevin, why haven't we named J.J. the starting quarterback just yet? This is what KOC was kind of joking around when he answered this. He was like, we can't even line up defensive players from our own team against him yet. So we don't really have a need to have anything more than just development time, learning time, teaching phase for our team. Trust me, JJ is going to get all of the prerequisite work for us to come out of the spring and feel great where he's at heading into camp. So KOC didn't really answer the question here, but I love the thought process from Kevin O'Connell. And, he's going to make J.J. McCarthy go out there and earn it. And, I would be stunned if J.J.'s not the starting quarterback week 1. But they're going to have him go throughout this whole process, learn the system, see him out there on the field, and then we will get that official announcement where it's like, bam, J.J. McCarthy's the starting quarterback week 1. But Kevin O'Connell, not giving him that nod just yet. He's going to have him go earn it. And I love that process. And J.J. was actually asked about starting at his press conference yesterday saying this. Somebody asked him, hey, are you ready to start? He goes, I know I'm ready to start because of all the work I put in and just the confidence in my abilities and just be able to do my job and simplify things to the best of my ability every single day. Take it one day at a time. I have a tremendous coaching staff and a great group of guys around me that I can lean on, and they can lean on me. And you guys should have just heard like the confidence that he had when he was talking about, his game heading in the next season. Like, he knows he put in the work. He knows he has the God-given ability to go out there and prove everybody wrong this season. So go out there and prove them all wrong this year. Number 9, everybody's doubting you. When people are talking about, oh, why could the Vikings be a regression team? It's not about the roster. It's not about the coaching staff. It's about you. Everybody thinks this team will be worse next season because we got rid of Sam Darnold. Remember what we thought of Sam Darnold before last season. I think the system made him a whole lot better, and I still think Darnold will be somewhat successful in Seattle. But this upcoming year, number 9, J.J. McCarthy, go prove them all wrong. And Kevin O'Connell, oh, you guys are going to love this. Kevin O'Connell talked about Harrison Smith coming back and about the dancing rituals with like Cam Bynum, obviously him leaving. Like, could Harry step up and be the dance partner for Josh Metellus? This is what he had to say. That was one of the guarantees I had to give Harrison Smith to make sure he came back was you're not going to be required to fill in, that you're not going to have to be like a Batman or Robin in the celebration dances. I think I'm more likely to run out and participate with Josh Metellus before Harrison Smith. And then Kay Adams joked about it, said, oh yeah, Harrison Smith hates the gritty. I love that. I mean, that is the most Harrison Smith thing I have ever seen, where Harry, he's too old school. He's like, man, I'm just here to play football. I don't give two damns about these touchdown celebrations. So I thought that was pretty cool that Harry is, he's all about business. He's all about football. He's not going to be the dance partner for Josh Metellus this season. Now, could you imagine how electric it would be if the Vikings did like a dance circle and it was like Harrison Smith in the middle, forcing him to do one? Josh Metellus, take that idea from me. That'll be electric week 1 of the season. But Harrison Smith is back, one of the best Vikings players in NFL history. So let's show him some love on today's show. Type those 22s down below in the comments section. The fact that he's still doing it at the age he is, how much mileage he has on those legs, and he's still one of the better players on this team. Show him some love. Type those 22s down below. Now we'll break down the Andrew Van Ginkel extension here in a second. But first off, if you guys want to get a J.J. McCarthy jersey today, head to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Click that link. It's in the comment section and description of today's show. But get those J.J. McCarthy jerseys today. They're going to be a hot jersey at U.S. Bank Stadium this year. So if you guys want to rock one, rock the number 9 jersey. Hit that link, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Got that link in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, so Andrew Van Ginkel got paid yesterday, and he fully deserved this. Schefter tweeting this out. A raise in Minnesota. Vikings reach agreement today on a 1-year, $23 million extension that includes $22.4 million guaranteed for linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. Shout out to Drew Rosenhaus for getting that done. And, I have seen so many people freaking out about this on Twitter, and it's honestly driving me up a wall right now. People think this has to do with Dallas Turner. This has nothing to do with Dallas Turner. I really want to make that point clear. Like, this isn't something where, like, oh, the Vikings are seeing Turner working out. They threw on his tape from last season. They're like, oh, man, he cannot play for this team. We got to go extend Van Ginkel one more year. No, this was about Van Ginkel's play. This had nothing to do with Dallas Turner. And Gink deserved this. Guys, he signed a 2-year, $20 million deal last offseason. He was a second-team All-Pro. He deserved to get this pay bump. And honestly, credit to the Vikings organization for giving him that. Because that contract he signed last offseason, it was a joke. He deserves to be getting paid a whole lot more than that. Because this guy, 2 pick sixes, 11.5 sacks this past year, 18 TFLs, 6 PBUs. He was a monster out there on the football field. And, it just kind of grinds my gears where people are like, oh, this has something to do with Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner isn't, up to speed with NFL level just yet. And even if he was, the man's 22 years old. Dallas Turner would be just fine. I don't think the Gink extension has anything to do with that. And, plus this, Van Ginkel is literally Brian Flores' guy. Like, if I had to pick any player in the whole NFL where if I asked Brian Flores, hey, you got to have one guy on your defense, I'm sure he'd probably say, like, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, one of these guys. But besides, like, the true superstar defenders in the league, he would pick Andrew Van Ginkel. His versatility is incredible. I mean, his pick sixes this past season, him lined up on the line, he bails out last second. He's able to intercept the football. Like, that is one-of-a-kind stuff. Like, the fact that Van Ginkel has a Andrew Van Ginkel play in terms of a defensive lineman jumping a screen, taking it back to a house, speaks to how special he is. And just that, he is a Flores guy. So I think this was more about Flores wanting to keep Van Ginkel in this organization one more year. I don't think this is anything at all to do with Dallas Turner. But let's show some love to one of the most underrated edge rushers in the National Football League, Andrew Van Ginkel. Shout out to AVG for getting paid. Type those 43s down below in the comments section. Type his jersey number. Show the man from Minnesota some love. Type his jersey number down below. Now, if you guys want more Vikings content on your Twitter X timeline, hit me up over there. That's a handle, at Pat Sieps. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes. Alrighty, appreciate you guys typing those 43s down below. Shout out to Junior. Shout out to Dwayne, Mike, John, Corey. Remember, Corey Miller. JoJo's in the building. Junior K saying, what's up? Bo Bear saying, what do you think about adding a CB? I like it. I don't think it's a need, though. I think the Vikings are very, very confident in the guys they have right now. So I don't think it's a dire need for this team. Now, if they do, whether it's like an Asante Samuel, even though apparently Asante Samuel, he's got some neck, shoulder thing going on. But we'll see. We shall see. We shall see. Shout out to Big O Beast, Donzel Davis, Jacob Dong in the building, Hunter VD typing the 43s down below. I cannot wait to see Andrew Van Ginkel next year, man. The pick six he had against the New York Giants to start the year last year, it was special. And then the one he had against Rodgers, that was crazy. I just can't wait to see the hair 43 out there. His wife's awesome on Twitter. Shout out to, I think it's Sam Van Ginkel. So shout out to her, man. But I can't wait. As Corey Miller saying, Tyler Batty and Tommy Hill will be first team Vikes 4 years from now. Yeah, Tommy Hill, that's a guy who gave Travis Hunter problems. Nebraska corner, has some medical concerns. But maybe he could fight his way on the roster. I'm sure he'll just be a practice squad guy this year. But Tommy Hill's a name where it's like 2-3 years from now where it's like, oh, where did this Tommy Hill guy come from? Like, no, that was the guy that locked up Travis Hunter this past year. As Hunter saying, I love your vids, man. You got me hooked on the offseason. Hey, I appreciate you, dude. The offseason's fun to cover in the NFL. Like, there are so many moving parts, free agency, the draft, like just the contract negotiations, man. Once you really start diving into it, it's a ton of fun. Like, the NFL calendar, like, that's why I give credit to Roger Goodell, is like, he keeps you engaged for, I'd probably say 10 and a half out of the 12 months, like probably in that late or probably June and July are the 2 months where people aren't really that engaged. But yeah, we'll see. But we will be getting into a mailbag here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. So if you guys got a question for me, hashtag Vikings down below in the live chat. Jacob, get a question in there. Bradley, if you could get a question in there. Same with Hunter, Bo, Corey, Rocky, Big O Beast. If you guys could ask a question about your Minnesota Vikings, whatever you guys want to talk about, you guys will have your name, profile, picture up on screen next to me. And also, if you guys want to super chat, support the show, that would be greatly appreciated as well. As Big O Beast saying, are the Wild going on a Cinderella run? I hope so, man. I hope so. Hopefully the Wild get it done in Game 6 back in Vegas. But we'll see. That was an awful loss last night. Poor Minnesota Wild fans, man. I couldn't even imagine being there. Love that, Dylan. Love that. Ryan saying Van Ginkel will kill it next year. He'll have a little extra pep in his step with that new contract. Yeah, 100%, Ryan. Like, this is just going to keep him more motivated because I'm sure Van Ginkel was looking around, and this is just natural at any job. Like, if you're not making as much as somebody who doesn't produce as much as you, who doesn't make as enough money as you do, like, you can definitely get a little frustrated, and the Vikings are just kind of doing, a good service for Van Ginkel. So I had no problems with that. I know people are freaking out. What does that mean about Dallas Turner? Yada, yada, yada. Sometimes I feel like Vikings fans and just try to find something negative about this offseason. I know I'm a young Vikings fan who maybe drinks a little too much purple Kool-Aid. I fully am, self-aware enough to realize that. But, guys, the last this Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi era has been awesome. Like, I will give this organization the benefit of the doubt that they got it figured out. So that's where I stand on that. But please get those questions in there in the live chat right now. Hashtag Vikings or super chat to get up on the show. Yes, Jacob Dong. I saw that play again on Twitter. I was so pissed watching that back. Van Ginkel. I think the game was 17-9 at the time, and he literally had his hands on the football. Would have taken it back to the house. And Abby Skull asking the hard-hitting questions. Shout out to you. Also shout out to Izzy. Pat, who would win? The Vikings 53-man roster or a gorilla? So we were talking about this in the Chat Sports office. I would have to imagine the gorilla's going to win. I understand the mammoths the Vikings could deploy on this gorilla. Like, first off, you would send the offensive line out for yeah, I think you would send the offensive line out first, followed by the defensive line. I would probably still have to lean the gorilla, even though if you would have 53 badass dudes. But, like, guys, think about the 53. Like, Will Reichard's getting thrown out there. Ryan Wright's 6'5", 225, so maybe he could do some damage to the gorilla. With gear or no gear, we'll go no gear. No gear. No gear, no weapons. Just shorts and a T-shirt, the Vikings 53-man roster versus a gorilla. Who's going to win? No pads. No pads. Shorts and a T-shirt. I don't know. I think I would have to lean with the gorilla. But also I heard gorillas get tired very fast. I've been learning a lot about gorillas over the last couple of weeks. After the last couple of days. And also, I wouldn't want J.J. McCarthy out there with a gorilla. We got to protect him. They're all dying. I'm probably going to lean the gorilla on this one. Dwayne saying, sorry, gorilla. Yeah, Corey saying, how many gorillas would it take to defeat Andrew Van Ginkel? That's the question we should be asking. Ryan, I think we're expecting 3 games. I think it will be 3 games for Addison. Yeah, the gorilla will get tired. It will get tired, T-Dog. All 53 at once. Dylan, you're in the camp of the gorilla, right? Yeah, Dylan's going the gorilla on this. Yeah, Dylan just goes, Van Ginkel would become friends with the gorilla. I could see that. What about Ivan Pace? You think that gorilla wants to see Ivan Pace? I don't think so. Big OB, shout out to you. But, hey, we appreciate everybody. Whoever asked that gorilla question, if you guys could ask that in the mailbag, that would be sick. Just use hashtag Vikings on that. I would love to answer that first question of the mailbag. Please, somebody help me out. Hashtag Vikings. Who would win, the Vikings roster or a gorilla? Please ask that down below. But we're going to dive into why the Vikings are going to shock the NFL world next season. We'll do that. Alrighty, let's dive into it. Why the Minnesota Vikings are going to shock the NFL world. Let's talk about it. It wouldn't be the NFL offseason without the Minnesota Vikings getting disrespected yet again. So coming up on today's show, why the Vikings are going to make a bunch of these NFL analysts, NFL media members look very, very dumb this upcoming season, and why the Vikes are going to shock the NFL world. But why we're doing this video is because an NFL media company called NFL Spin Zone. Producer Dylan and I were scrolling the internet trying to find some record predictions for the Minnesota Vikings, and Dylan came across this one where NFL Spin Zone said the Vikings record this upcoming season will not be 8-9, not be 9-8, but they will be 6-11. You're going to lose 8 more games than you did this past season. And their reasoning was because, of course, J.J. McCarthy. Lou Scattaglia. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but your slander of the Minnesota Vikings, we need to talk about it. Saying, I can see a regression from the Minnesota Vikings in 2025. Remember, just in case anybody forgot, they are now starting a de facto rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. So winning a ton of games simply might not be in the picture this upcoming season. And this happens every year. And you know what? Here we go again, where the Bears are getting all the love. The Green Bay Packers are going to the Super Bowl. The Lions are running away with the division. Caleb Williams is going to be a dark horse MVP candidate. This happens every single offseason, and it's not just with the Minnesota Vikings. It's with Minnesota sports as a whole. ESPN had 10 of their best NBA analysts predict the Lakers-Timberwolves series. All 10 of them picked the Los Angeles Lakers. We all know how that turned out. So it's the NFL offseason again, and the Vikings are getting disrespected. They think they're going 6-11. You guys let me know. What do you guys think the Vikings' record would be for next season? My record prediction is actually flipped. I think the Vikes are going to go 11-6, win a playoff game. You guys let me know. Predict the Vikings' record for next season down below in the comments section. And even the bookmakers. These are the guys that had the Vikings win total at 6.5 last season. And these are the same guys who are disrespecting the Vikings yet again. Lions, best odds in the NFC North. No problem with that whatsoever. If you say the Lions can be better than the Vikings, I'm not going to have an issue. They have kicked our ass last 2 seasons. But having the Packers at plus 260, a team the Vikings just swept this past season, having the Bears and Vikings necessarily have the same odds to win the division, I think that's ludicrous. But this is just the offseason. People love to pile on the Vikings because I think it's simple. You think about these big-time, media companies, Fox Sports, ESPN, if they are, their coverage is having a playoff game, out of all 4 of these teams, the team they would not want the most in the playoffs is the Minnesota Vikings. It's just true. You got the brand with the Packers. The Lions are somehow a very talked about team all of a sudden. And then obviously the Chicago market with the Bears. But I do want to go back here. And because everybody's saying, the Vikings are going to be a regression team. There's no way they're as good as they were last year. All right, so let's just break this down. What were some of the Vikings' main problems from last season? I think number one, just overall talent in the trenches. Offensively, defensively, on those interiors specifically, they just didn't have a lot of talent there. So that was an issue, and that definitely caught up with the Vikes weeks 18 and the wild card round. Consistent run game, definitely. Vikings were 19th in the league in running the football next season. So that was an issue. Pass defense. I think this was mainly because the Vikings got up on a lot of teams early in these games, so they were just able to throw the ball all over the lot. But that was an issue. The Vikings also struggled with getting pressure with only 4 guys this past year. There was a lot of Brian Flores getting creative, and he did just that. Vikings had a great defense this past season. And then the red zone rushing, specifically in that Lions game. I think the Vikes were 0 for 5 in the red zone during the Lions. Darnold was 0 for 9 at a point throwing the football, so you weren't able to run the ball, which put a lot of pressure on Darnold. But remember all of these issues right here. I think the Vikings addressed all their problems this offseason. We talk about talent in the trenches. Okay, so you go get Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen. Check that box. The rushing offense in the red zone. You go get a physical running back in Jordan Mason with the improved offensive line. The pass defense. I think your ability now to get home with 4 with that defensive line, that will just increase. All of these issues the Vikings had, they addressed it straight on the nail. And if you just start looking at this team, you start looking at this roster, the amount of talent at every single position group is ridiculous. Justin Jefferson. You guys don't know, he's pretty damn good at football. Jordan Addison, one of the best wide receiver 2s in the league. Ty Felton, speedster. Jalen Naylor, speedster. Rondell Moore, speedster. You got the 2 top guys, and then you just got these gadget weapons for Kevin O'Connell in this offense. I can't wait to see the creative play calls KOC has for a guy like Felton, has for a guy like Moore. And, I think the Vikings offense, they're going to lean on the run game this season. They know J.J. McCarthy's strengths and weaknesses. They know at Michigan, they didn't ask him to throw the ball 40 times. And the Vikings aren't going to ask J.J. to throw the ball 40 times this season because you added Donovan Jackson. You added Ryan Kelly. You added Will Fries. And you literally just take Brian O'Neill, who also got hurt in the Rams game. The Vikings will have a completely different left side of the offensive line starting at the right guard spot. Will Fries in for Dalton Risner. Kelly in for Bradbury. Donovan Jackson in for Blake Brandel. Christian Darrisaw in for Cam Robinson. That's an upgrade at every single position. And then people are saying still, they weren't able to run the ball at the goal line last season. Yada, 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 yada. Well, you added one of the more physical running backs in the National Football League in Jordan Mason. So, offensive line, check. Weapons, check. Running backs, check. How about tight ends? You got the best blocking tight end in the league in Josh Oliver. You still got TJ Hawkinson, an elite weapon. Top 5, top 7 tight end in the league. So, really, what is their weak point offensively? It all comes back to J.J. McCarthy. Like, these people, and I think it starts from the pre-draft analysis on J.J. McCarthy saying, I don't think he's that good. So when he gets plugged into the Vikings offense, they're naturally going to think, the Vikings aren't going to be that good. But let me tell you guys this. The J.J. Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell era is here. And these are going to be the 3 guys for the next 7 to 10 years that will be the focal point of not just this offense, but the entire team. Because I'm a believer in McCarthy. I think he's going to work out. But let's just say he's better than I think. And he's an undisputed top 7, top 10 quarterback. The combination of KOC, McCarthy, and Justin Jefferson will be the backbone and the foundation of this team for the next 7 to 10 years. But I'll ask you guys this. Fill in the blank for me. I don't know where I put them. You guys let me know. The Vikings will have the blank best offense in the NFL next season. I'm going to go 7th. I'm going to say the Vikings will have the 7th best offense in the NFL next year. You guys let me know your thoughts. Where will the Vikings offense rank at the end of next season? Talking a lot about offense, but let's talk about the defense. Why the Vikings defense will be top 5? Because they were already top 5 last season. I think people think they lost Brian Flores or they lost all their talent. They only lost Cameron Bynum, and they added 2 dogs on that defensive line. So everything we were just saying with the offense, I think they're going to be a top 7 group, if not a top 5 unit, if McCarthy pops year 1. Well, defensively, you're only going to get better, and you're coming off a year last year where you were already pretty damn good. Here were their 2024 defensive ranks. Now, you got to be a good scoring defense. Vikings were that. They give up the 13th most yards per game, give the 10th most yards per play, second best on third down, second against the run. But when I think about a Super Bowl defense, you got to win on early downs. You stop the run. The Vikings do that. You got to get home to the quarterback. The Vikings were top 3 in the league in sacks. You got to turn the ball over. The Vikings were second to the Steelers in turnovers forced defensively this past season. They obviously just got to keep guys out of the end zone. Well, the Vikings were 5th. Like, they did all that last year with, I would probably say, B-level, B talent on this defense. And then you made these big-time additions, specifically to the defensive line. Because what we were just saying at the top of today's show, what was the Vikings' biggest issue defensively? It was getting home with 4. So what do? You go bring in Jonathan Allen. Go bring in Javon Hargrave. Then what if Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, one of the most boomer bust prospects in this year's draft, definitely has one of the highest ceilings. What if he pops year 1? What if we're like, that's 6'5", 280-pound defensive lineman from Georgia? He just plays his tail off? Okay, yeah, we could work with that, and then we're definitely getting home with 4. But also in the secondary, people freaking out. Why didn't they add another corner? It's because the Vikings believe in the guys already in that building, specifically this guy, Aaron Rodgers. Unreal PFF grades and very limited snaps. Now, he's going to have an increased role, so it's kind of that thing, and I always say this when I'm talking about the NBA, like, you can be an efficient scorer, scoring 12 a game. Can you be an efficient scorer, scoring 22, 25 points a night? Same thing applies with Isaiah Rodgers. You were very good playing limited amount of snaps, 300, 350 snaps per year. Can you do the same thing playing 700 to 1,000 snaps per season? But I think he could step up. Then also the Byron Murphy deal. People are saying the Vikings overpaid for him. And then the actual contract details came out, and he got the same deal that Paulson Adebo got from the New York Giants. I think Byron Murphy has a chance to be a top 5 corner in the NFL next season. Now, he predominantly plays out of the nickel. We know that's where his bread and butter lies in the NFL. But we'll see. I also said Aaron Rodgers right there. Isaiah Rodgers. That's on me. Isaiah Rodgers. Too much Rodgers on my mind. But, specifically about Byron Murphy, I think he has a chance to be a top 5 corner. Like, I'm sure the Vikings, when they were giving him that deal, they're like, all right, this guy's entering the prime of his career, his athletic prime. He just had a really good year. Let's see if he could build off that. Byron Murphy could step up. And also specifically at the safety position. Everybody freaking out. Why didn't the Vikes draft a safety? Well, they probably have a lot of faith in the guy they just gave a 3-year deal to, Theo Jackson, who when he had to step in against the Seattle Seahawks when Harrison Smith did not play, he had the game-sealing interception, had a 90-plus overall PFF grade. I got faith in him stepping up. And here's probably the biggest wild card to me. Coming off a torn ACL, former third-round pick out of USC, had a great rookie season. Can he take that next step? Can he become a true lockdown cornerback 2 across from Byron Murphy? I think he can. But even if you think these guys in the secondary aren't going to take that step, I think they're just not going to have to hold up as long. Because imagine this third down package coming at you if you're an opposing team's quarterback. Jonathan Grenard, Hargrave, Allen, Van Ginkel, and Turner. If the Vikings line those 5 guys up and you still got to pick and choose if Turner or Van Ginkel's coming, I mean, that's just going to cause havoc. And plus, if any of these guys get one-on-one opportunities, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But after all that, let me ask you guys this. Are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders? Do you believe the Vikes can make a Super Bowl this season? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I think they're right there. I don't know if they're true contenders just yet, but I think they're right there. And we can just talk about like a little Super Bowl checklist here really quickly. You already improved the roster. You got a top-tier coaching staff. You got an elite culture that Kevin O'Connell set. You got a franchise quarterback in McCarthy, and you are having an identity change where you are going from a finesse football team to a physical football team. So it gets me to this. My prediction for the Vikings this upcoming year, I think they're going to go 11-6, and Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson will finally get that first playoff win under their belt. It'll come wild card weekend, then we'll see what happens in the divisional round. But if an 11-6 season happens, you're losing 3 more games than you did the previous year. I still think that's a success. The first year, J.J. McCarthy at 22 years old. So I got a lot of faith in this team. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, give me a skull down below in the comments section. We'll use this as a real one roll call. We appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Shout out to everyone who supported the channel over the last couple of months here. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skull Vikes. All right, you guys let me know. Are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Sorry about saying Aaron Rodgers right there. I think I blame you guys for that because during the free agency streams, you guys were joking around with me saying, oh, the Vikings signed Rodgers, yada, 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 yada. Actually appreciate you guys calling me out for that because I was able to get that midway through the show. Isaiah Rodgers, not Aaron Rodgers. Has he even signed with the Steelers yet? Not sure who you're talking about. A lot of Y's flowing in. Got a lot of faith in this football team heading into next season. But also, final call here. We're going to be diving into a mailbag in about 2 minutes or so. So if you guys could get a question in there, hashtag Vikings or Super Chat, that would be greatly appreciated. But please help us out here. Get a question up so we can get you guys' thoughts up on the show. Love doing our mailbags. It's my favorite part every single week where it's just me and you chopping it up about the Minnesota Vikings. That's Thomas saying, hey, Pat, how are you doing today? I'm doing pretty good, Thomas. Dylan and I are in the coldest studio, I think, in the whole country right now. So I would take this heater that we have a heater. Think about this, everybody. Our studios here are in Dallas, Texas, and we have a heater in the studio. That is how cold it is. Sorry for taking this away from Dylan here real quick, but I need it on my face for a second. But yeah, overall, Thomas, doing good today. Doing good. What about you? How's everybody doing today? You guys living life? Excited for the Lakers game? Sorry about the Lakers game being, I think it's a 9 o'clock start tonight in Minneapolis. That's going to be brutal. Yeah, but how's everybody doing? You guys having fun after the NFL draft? This heater feels so damn good on my face. Shout out to y'all. Oh, the insulation here, Tang Yang. There is, like, if I step over to my right, it's just pumping out 50-degree air. Actually, in one of these buildings, our guy, Harrison Graham, I think he said it was 61 degrees in one of these studios, which is ridiculous. Tom is saying, fantastic. Yeah, Lakers are done for. JJ interview got me hyped yesterday. Oh, got me hyped as well, man. Hearing the way he talks, it's everything we knew about him. Calvin saying, yes, Vikings will be a contender this season. Skull. I hope so, Calvin. How much fun would that be this upcoming season? If we just get a go. Guys, you never know how special a year could be. Live in the moment. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait, man. I feel like the season's starting like in a month or so. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it throughout the whole summer. I need Vikings football back in my life. Because also, I'm not even looking forward to training camp because it's just going to make it worse for me. Because I'm going to see JJ throw a bomb to Jefferson, and I'm going to be just foaming at the mouth to get some real Vikings football in my life. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. But again, if you guys could get those questions in there, hashtag Vikings. Somebody could ask the question about the gorilla versus the 53-man roster. Dylan saying we got it. Shout out to whoever did that. Appreciate you. Jacob saying, Pat, how many points do you think Ant is going to put up in clutch time in Game 5? I'm going to say he's got 5 points in the last 5 minutes tonight. I think he'll get a little layup at around the 3-minute mark, and then I think it's going to be 112, 111, 54 seconds left. Ant's on the right wing, just sizing up Luka, and he's going to get to a step-back three, and he's going to drill it and send the Lakers faithful home sad on this beautiful Wednesday night. But if you guys could, questions in the live chat, hashtag Vikings, or super chat if you want to guarantee your spot up on the show. Ant only player in the playoffs to score 40+. I will say I was a little concerned about Anthony Edwards. He had like 12 straight playoff games where he did not score 30+, and I did not want that narrative to start getting pushed around that Ant's not a playoff performer. But he definitely turned that around. 43 points in Game 4 to go up 3-1. That was a great performance by Anthony Edwards. Also, let me ask you guys this. If you guys remember, Ant and Jefferson did an interview, I think it was 2 years ago. And Anthony Edwards said if he wins a championship in the next 5 years, he will come play football. What position should the Vikings hypothetically put Anthony Edwards at? I think it would have to be wide receiver. 6'4", freak athlete, can jump out of the gym. Even though Ant, if you want to come be the next Xavier Rhodes and play some cornerback, that would be sweet too. Or maybe a little safety for Anthony Edwards. Tang Yang saying, you think he meant soccer? See, he was looking at Jefferson when he said that. I thought he was talking about football, American football. Edge, beef up Ant, get him to like 240 because he's like 6'4", probably 220 right now. Get him to like 245, have him coming off the edge. Thomas saying he could be Kyle Hamilton. That'd be tough. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe could you imagine if Anthony Edwards shows up to a Vikings training camp or something like that and he's like playing? That would be sick. Maybe that's why the Vikings, every little tinfoil hat theory here, everybody. The Vikings didn't sign a corner, not because they thought Asante Samuel was coming, because they know the Timberwolves are going to win the championship this year, and then Ant's just going to come play for the Vikings next season. Anybody ever think about that? He's going to be your starting cornerback. How funny would it be if I did a whole show on Anthony Edwards playing for the Vikings, breaking that down? Ant's not? Oh, he did? He killed the dream? Really? If you want to follow and literally be Michael Jordan 2.0, go play football, Ant. Go play football. Alrighty, we're going to dive into this mailbag, so get those questions in there. Last call here, hashtag Vikings or super chat to get up on today's show. As we only have 3 questions in the log right now. Guys, help us out. Ask a question for Dylan. Isn't scrambling for questions halfway through this mailbag. You guys know producer Dylan. You want to make his life easier, ask a question. We'd appreciate it. Come on. Hashtag Vikings in the live chat. Big O Beast, get a question in there. Clyde, Thomas, Donzel, Freeland, Daniel Parker, Calvin. I know you got a question in you. Ask any question around the Minnesota Vikings. Get them in there. Come on. Yeah, make sure you're putting hashtag Vikings. Even if you're asking a question and it doesn't have hashtag Vikings, we can't pull it. Hunter, appreciate you. Good question in there. But get those questions in the live chat. Use hashtag Vikings. We'll dive into this mailbag. It'll be seen by a whole lot of Vikings fans. So you guys could. Shout out to Abby Skoll. Another question. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Hashtag Vikings. There we go. Now the questions are rolling in. Let's go. Clap it up for the real ones. Thank you. I'm going to blast my face with this heater here real quick, and then we'll dive into the mailbag. It is literally 55 degrees in this room. I don't know how Dylan's doing it. I don't know how he's pushing the buttons right now. It That's also the funny part. It's not as bad as it was yesterday morning. It was so cold in here. You guys just should have saw Dylan and I almost pass out after day one of the NFL draft. It's like midnight here. We're both delirious and our hands are like falling off. Alrighty. I'm ready to roll. You covering the Super Bowl from the actual game if the Vikings make it? I will be there. I will be at Media Row if the Vikings make it. But we'll see. We'll see. Got to get there first. Got to win a playoff game first. And then we'll talk about the bowl. But last call, Super Chat if you guys have not already. Let's dive into Minnesota Vikings mailbag. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman, and on today's show, we answer your questions around the Minnesota Vikings as part of our mailbag. This is my favorite segment we do every single week here, which is me and y'all chopping it up about our favorite football team. And we're going to start it off here, Miss Minnesota. That's a hell of a name. Shout out to you-know-who for that one. Saying, should the Vikings trade for – I can't get over the name on this. Should the Vikings trade for Jalen Ramsey? I think they should. I think if it takes a third-round pick to get that deal done, I think they should take the flyer on him. I understand he's older, but he still had a very good year last year, still a very willing tackler in the run game, which would be huge for Flores. So if it takes a third-round pick to get Jalen Ramsey, I'm probably in on it. But if it's anything more than that, I think I'd pass, even though there are reports that Ramsey could go for a fifth. Apparently he's not too liked in that Dolphins locker room, so... But also, I think if he comes to the Vikings, that would be squashed right away. But, hey, for a third, fourth, fifth-round pick in 2026, considering the Vikings are getting 2 comp picks, I say they take the chance and trade for Jalen Ramsey. Abby Skoll, let's go. Love this question. Love this question. This is what everybody's talking about. This is what all Vikings fans want to know. Who would win in a fight, the Vikings 53-man roster or a gorilla? So this has been the hot question, and you guys please let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. But set the scene a little bit. It's a cage match. It's life or death. It is the Vikings 53-man roster on one side, and it's a gorilla, a silverback gorilla on the other side. Who comes out of that alive? Now, this question started because people were asking who would win 100 people or a gorilla. And I was in the camp that the gorilla would smoke the 100 people. But as I started learning more about gorillas the past couple of days, apparently they get tired very fast. So my strategy for the Vikings here would be you send out the offensive line. So you got about 8, 9 guys there. You also pair C.J. Ham there. You pair Ivan Pace there. And you got like a solid 12-man unit. And they all storm the gorilla right away. And then on the back half, your second line, you're going like the Hargraves. You're going the Van Ginkels, the Grenards. Get those defensive linemen in there, and they really start to put a beating on them. Now, hopefully the gorilla is beat up bad at that point. Because I don't want the Vikings, like let's just say the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman get killed right away, and then you're rolling in there like, imagine if Will Reichard has to go face-to-face with that gorilla. Imagine if J.J. McCarthy has to go face – imagine if Sam Howell has to go face that gorilla. I think I would lean the gorilla to win this one. It's a damn gorilla. Like, I mean, then again, like Christian Darrisaw, like, I mean, these guys could put up a good fight, but I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts, though. Who would win? The Vikings 53-man roster or a gorilla? Hunter VD coming in with the next question, saying, why does everyone doubt JJ? He proved everyone wrong. I just think it's because of, like, the Michigan offense. I really think that's where it stems because, you know, a lot of these guys, when they're evaluating tape and, you know, they see, oh, all right, JJ, Michigan didn't ask him to do a whole lot. Like, he was handing the ball off a lot. Now, yes, he was fantastic in, like, third and long situations, ran a pro-style offense and all this. And then he did prove everybody wrong. Lost 1 game starting in his whole collegiate career, 27-1. He's lost 4 games since his freshman year of high school. Like, he has that amount of juice with him. He has those winning intangibles. Honestly, I think it's just because of, like, a couple of viral games from JJ, like, in the negative way, where it's like, oh, the Penn State game? he didn't throw the ball a single time in the second half. Now, a big reason of that was because the Michigan offensive line was getting their ass kicked in the first half, so they just said, we'll just turn around and hand the ball off 30 times in the second half. But I just think it's a lot of this like pre-draft analysis they had on JJ, and they just don't think he's going to do well. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for it, but we'll wait and see what happens. Aim a lock in. Hashtag Vikings. How much play time do you think Jordan Mason gets? I think during the first couple months of the season, he'll be the lead tailback. Like, I think the Vikings traded for Jordan Mason not to go split carries with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones will still be highly used in this offense, but I think for the first month or so, I could see this being like a 65-35 split in terms of, touches and just overall snaps they're getting. Now, when we get to like the second half of the year, maybe it's more of a 50-50 split, but the biggest reason why I love this move is because Aaron Jones, he went for over 1,500 all-purpose yards last season, but he also had around 300 touches on his body, which him being 30 years old now, even though he said age is just a number, and then he said that's what I used to say to women when I was younger, which was hilarious, but I just think they want to keep him healthy. I think it will probably be a 50-50 split down the tail half of the season, but then again, it could just be a game-to-game thing. Like, let's just say the Vikings view like, oh, Jordan Mason, he could kill the Bears, for example. But they view like, oh, Aaron Jones would be better against the Packers. I just think it would be a game-to-game thing. But overall, I think it would be 50-50 throughout the entire season. Tang Yang coming in, saying with the signing of Hargrave and Allen, Vikings run more 4-3 rather than 3-4. Definitely could. But the only thing, listen, I don't really get too involved with like the 3-4, 4-3 stuff with the Vikings, considering let's just say you're running a 3-4, Hargrave, Phillips, Allen, those are your three, and then your two of your linebackers are Gennard and Van Ginkel, and then your other two are Cashman and Pace. Like, you can just kind of mix and match them all over the field. And honestly, with the Brian Flores defense, he's running both. Like, he's running 4-3, he's running 3-4, even though it's more out of 3-4. But with what Flores likes to do, I don't really look too much into that. But, yeah, I think the Vikings will use more down linemen this year than they have in past years just because they got more talent at that position. But, yeah, Tang Yang, don't really have a good answer for that. I'm assuming they're going to stick in 3-4 for, majority of the season. But let me ask you guys this. Drop a name for me down below. Who is your favorite player on the Vikings heading in the next season? Who? For me, Harrison Smith comes to mind. Van Ginkel, Jefferson, McCarthy, but I'm going to go with the guy who doesn't get talked about nearly enough, and probably the best player besides Jefferson at their respective position on the team, Christian Darrisaw. Shout out to number 71. Keep holding down that blind side for J.J. McCarthy. Big O Beast, what's going on, brother? Who is the most underrated player the Vikings got this offseason? The most underrated, I'd probably go Isaiah Rodgers. Listen, he graded out very well according to PFF. Very limited snaps the past couple of seasons. And I just think, most of the, people who don't cover the Minnesota Vikings just kind of view Rodgers as like a depth guy. I think the Vikings honestly view Rodgers as like, oh, yeah, he'll probably be our cornerback 2. But if Blackman pops, he'll probably be the cornerback 3. I would probably go Isaiah Rodgers. Other guys like Ty Felton. Apparently Keenan Cardell was like pounding the table for him, so I could see him having a monster year. Like the main four of like Kelly, Fries, Hargrave, and Allen aren't really underrated signings, so I'll go Isaiah Rodgers. Also, I'll throw Rondell Moore in there as well. But shout out to Big O Beast. Daniel Parker, could Justin Jefferson fill in at quarterback for a game? I'm pretty sure this is Kevin O'Connell's burner asking this question. Listen, if KOC was going to answer this, he would want Jefferson to play quarterback for a game. I still cannot get over. I love Kevin O'Connell, but this was the worst play call he's ever had in his life. The Giants-Vikings game, Vikings score 7 points right away. Giants scored 7 right away. Vikings scored 7. Giants scored 7 again, so it's 14-7. Vikings have a 3rd and 1 backed up in their own territory. And Kevin O'Connell decides to pull out the Jefferson throwback pass to Kirk Cousins and expect Kirk to make a guy miss and run up the sideline. He's used Jefferson passing a lot. Let me actually look this up. Justin Jefferson passing career stats. We're at that time in the offseason, everybody. Because I'm pretty sure he's got a damn good rate. They don't even have this up right now. All right. Well, that was a waste of time. But I'm going to say no. Jefferson can't fill in for a whole game at quarterback. But in certain plays, KOC would try to unveil a Jefferson pass here and there. Thomas coming in saying, what was your favorite first-round pick in the draft by any team? Love this question, Thomas. Favorite pick? It would have to be Tyler Warren for the Colts. Listen, I thought Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland are generational tight end prospects. Shocked that the Bears took Loveland at 10. I actually love that pickup for him. But the fact that the Colts were able to stick and pick at number 14, I think that was a steal. I think Warren's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL. So my favorite first-round pick was Tyler Warren, pick 14. Trying to think of any other picks I liked. I liked the Chargers getting Amari and Hampton. That was a very good pick for them. Yeah, I'd probably say Tyler Warren to the Indianapolis Colts. Now we'll get into more questions here in a second, but quickly, if you guys want to get a J.J. McCarthy jersey today, head to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Click that link in the comment section and description of today's show. The number 9 jerseys are going to be hot at US Bank Stadium this season. So if you guys want to rock one as well, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Ryan Manley, what's going on, bro? You covering the Super Bowl from the actual game if the Vikings make it. I would be down there for the media week, but for the actual game, we'll be back up in the studio doing a watch party for it. But yeah, I mean, I would be down there asking Vikings players questions. Here at Chat Sports, we've gotten credentials the last couple of seasons, so that was very cool. So if the Vikings make a Super Bowl, I'll be down there. It would be awesome. Let's just focus on winning a playoff game first, Ryan, and then we'll talk about the big old game in the future. Corey Miller saying, which UDFAs do you think could make the roster, and who do you think could be full-time starters in years to come? My favorite guy was Tyler Batty. You also got Logan Brown. I don't know if Logan Brown, the Kansas offensive tackle, maybe that could be a Brian O'Neill replacement in the future. But you also got Joe Huber, interior offensive lineman from Wisconsin. Maybe he could end up starting at guard. Maybe Oscar Chapman, the punter out of Auburn. Maybe he could start over Ryan Wright. Maybe that could be the case. But Corey, I like Tyler Batty. Silas Bolden, speedster out of Texas. He's another guy. Joe Huber, and then also Logan Brown, offensive lineman out of Kansas. Jacob Dong, what's going on, man? Pat, what do you think about the Gink deal? I like it. I know people are freaking out, being like, oh, what does this mean for Dallas Turner? I don't think this means anything for Turner. I think the Vikings are saying, hey, Van Ginkel, we signed you to a 2-year, $20 million deal. Last offseason, you're incredibly underpaid. We'll pay you. We'll make you happier heading into this year. I mean, the fact that he was making $10 million a year and he was a second-team All-Pro at the edge spot. He was the most underplayed player on the roster. And just, think about this in life. Like, if you're at a job and, you're not making as much as other guys, but those guys aren't, making as much as you are, like, you're going to feel slighted. So I think the Vikings just said, hey, Van Ginkel, we know you're killing it. We know you're doing a great job. We'll take care of you. Harvey Buxton. Oh, let's see what this is. Harvey, what's going on, man? Are you happy, or are you now happy the Vikings didn't trade back after the completion of the old Skull Vikings? And love the channel and great host here, Harvey. I appreciate you. I am happy the Vikings didn't trade back, Harvey, mainly because I like the Donovan Jackson pick. You finally took an offensive lineman in the first round. You solidify that side of the football where really there is no weak position on the entire roster offensively now. Probably the weakest spot is like center with Ryan Kelly, like just because he's older and has some injury history. But yeah, I like the pick. Even though I would have liked them to trade down, but hey, if Donovan Jackson hits, we're not going to be complaining whatsoever. But Harvey, I appreciate you, Brody. Victor the Viking. Shout out to Victor in the chat. What up? Who is the biggest X factor on the Vikings roster? I'm going to go Byron Murphy Jr. on this one. Now, you could go Mekhi Blackman, Theo Jackson. Like, these guys are going to have to step up. But I think if I had to pick a guy, like, take the next level in their game, it would be Byron Murphy. Like, go be a top 5 corner. Go be, one of the best nickel corners in the league. Like, I think that would be huge for this team. Maybe a guy like Will Fries, like, if he ends up being one of the better guards in the league, that would be huge. But That's probably what I would say. Byron Murphy Jr., Will Fries, one of those two guys. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, hit me with a skull down below in the comments section. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. See y'all next time. As always, Skull Vikes. Alrighty. Appreciate you, Harvey, coming in there, Brody. Shout out to you, dog. $5 super chat. But we're going to sign off here. Thank you guys so much for chopping it up about the purple and gold on this lovely Wednesday evening. Go watch the Timberwolves beat the crap out of the Lakers tonight. And we're going to get out of here. Appreciate all of you guys for watching. Taking time out of your day. And we will see you guys next time. As always, Skull Vikes.